Hi guys, welcome back to Homeschooling with Classic Stories. We're still on the Peter Rabbit week, so week one of the Beatrix Potter stories. And I wanted to show you some of the things that we did as far as kind of kitchen classroom, some math, and some cutting, pasting type skills. So what we did for the beginning of the week is this did not go well. My son remembered that the mother rabbit in the story, Peter's mother and Flopsy Mopsy Cottontail's mother, went to the baker. And so he wanted to make some buns. I don't know how to make buns. So as a result, we made some muffins. And I let him choose what kind of muffins to make. And so we made little blueberry chocolate chip muffins. That's what he chose, was blueberry chocolate chip, and he helped make them. If you've never worked with your child in the kitchen before, it's really easy to, especially if you have like a mixer. We have a KitchenAid mixer, and so having him pour the ingredients into the bowl and then watching it once it's turned on is something that is fun, and he gets to participate in. Um, do, if your child is able, let him or her pour the ingredients in. So like I would fill the cup of flour and level it off, and then he would pour it in. um, we've been working on kitchen classroom type stuff for over a year now. So he is now capable of cracking eggs as well, so he was allowed to do that part, as well as adding the other dry ingredients. I would put a link in the description below, but I'm going to be honest, these are really bad. They're very tough. So if you have a favorite muffin recipe or bun recipe or whatever's in your capability of baking, since she's visiting a baker, go ahead and do that. But I'm not going to recommend these because they were shockingly bad. So I'm gonna chop them up to do something else with them over the weekend. The other thing that I wanted to make mention of was what we did for math this week. There's no real worksheet for math this week. What I did was I took a measuring tape. This is just like a dressmaker's measuring tape. We have several of these around the house, and I just taped it along the floor. And my son just jumped. So we did like rabbit hopping was the idea. So he just did jumping, and then would call out the number that he got. I wrote it down. We looked at the numbers at the end. He told me which one he had jumped the farthest on, which one he had jumped the least farthest on. So just sort of looking at it because this is a number line, right? So as far as what you should be doing, one thing that didn't go great was actually my mistake. I kind of assumed because he's rather, let's say, athletic. Let's say that. I really thought that he would jump much further than he did, so I chose the inches side because I didn't want him to get too far down the number line and then not be able to read it. Um, but he never really got past a foot or 30 centimeters, 35 centimeters as far as like standing and jumping. So we really could have done either centimeters or inches, depending on whatever your country is. So it was kind of my mistake to choose inches because our practice today was for, I'm sorry, our practice for math was to make sure that he was looking at the numbers and seeing it as a number line. Um, and I favored inches only because I thought that he would jump further. And if you don't believe me, go try it. It's very hard to go from jumping standing still to just jumping forward. And so you don't actually need that long of a number line. So that was sort of one of the mistakes I made. The other thing I will mention is make sure you do a really good job taping it down. I didn't do a great job the first time we started, and you'll find, at least my child, jumped onto the number line, onto the tape measure several times, which kind of caused it to pull up. So make sure you like tape it in several places just to make sure the activity goes smoothly. As far as activities go, the baking will take you as long as baking takes. The number line activity we spent maybe 10 minutes on total, as far as like me saying to him, hey, we're going to go do some numbers activity, because I always call math numbers activities. We're going to go look at some numbers and you're going to do some jumping, me taping it down, recording the numbers, him jumping, all of that, not more than 10 minutes, including discussing how far he had jumped. So which one was the furthest, whatnot. So that was our math for this week on Peter Rabbit. And the last thing that I wanted to show you is actually what we do for cutting and pasting, what we did for cutting and pasting this week. So I wanted to show you the two worksheets that we used, and you'll have a link to those before. These are just worksheets that I have created. So if you go looking for them somewhere else on the internet, hopefully they're not there because I did make them for this. So anyway, the very first worksheet that we're going to look at is Mr. McGregor's Garden. This is just the pasting worksheet. Mine printed out weird, but yours should not print out weird. It's just a pasting worksheet that your child will paste onto. And the second sheet that goes with it is simply a coloring cutting worksheet. So it's just 3 tomatoes, 5 cucumbers, and 2 carrots. So your child will simply cut them out. Sorry, color them, cut them out, and then paste them onto this sheet. Um, this is pretty self-explanatory. We did this activity right before lunch because it's something that my son is relatively capable of doing, just coloring a picture and then cutting it out. The gluing, I kind of sat and watched. Just I had a break in cooking, so sat and watched that. We also talked about the shapes. I made sure that they were shapes, so there are circles, there are ovals, or ellipses, however you choose to characterize them. And then there are 2 carrots at the bottom. So after he did that, he pasted them onto here. Um, then we just talked about, how many vegetables were there, which one had the most vegetables, which one had the least vegetables. So just make sure that you discuss it. The activity, the cutting and pasting and coloring is important. And it's a great time filler if you need to make lunch or dinner or whatever it is you're doing. Um, but make sure that you also ask questions about it. So what color is it? What shape is it? How many? How many more carrots would Mr. McGregor have to grow in order to make the same number of cucumbers? So some like basic addition, subtraction type skills. This is the one that my son did. Hopefully this gives you an idea. My son is I feel, rather proficient at cutting for his age. He actually uses metal scissors at this point because he's been cutting with plastic scissors and has transitioned to the metal scissors. If your child has not cut things out before, please make sure you use some sort of safety scissors. I do want to warn you that this was done on regular printer paper, but if your child is not proficient at cutting, you might want to print it on a heavier, thicker paper, like some sort of maybe like a cardstock or something. That will be much easier, especially if you were using, these are my son's old scissors. Again, he's using metal scissors now. These are his old ones and they're plastic. And honestly, if I tried to cut this computer paper, it's honestly a little more challenging. So I would recommend if your child is still using the plastic-based scissors, the non-metal scissors, that you do put it on a heavier paper. Again, this was done on printer paper though. The other thing that I wanted to point out to you was it's not going to be perfect. My son is 4.5, so you can see that it's sort of a circle shape. It's an oval shape and it's a triangle. And really that's it. The coloring's not going to be perfect. And that's okay. The gluing, he did what he wanted to do. So it was fine. As far as the glue that we used, we are currently transitioning. And I don't know that this is a real transition, but this is sort of a me transition. All last year for preschool, we used glue sticks. They're easy to use, they're easy to clean up. I didn't feel anything about if I needed to walk away and take care of one of my younger children. So we are trying to switch over to this, and it's a struggle for me. He did fine. I do recommend that if you're going to use this, if you've not done this before, this is what he used, real glue for this one, that either you take it off, take the cap off, pour it onto a little tray, and give your child either their finger, not me, or a Q-tip, which is what we chose to use. So he just took a Q-tip, put it in it as if it was paint, and just did it, swirled it around as if it were paint. I know a lot of people speak to the sensory issue of texture, like painting with your finger with the glue. I think that's great. Um, I perhaps am not emotionally ready for that, but this is something that we're transitioning to away from glue sticks. This is really just to your preference. What do you feel comfortable with? So, anyway, that's what we did this week as far as kitchen classroom, as far as math, and as far as our cutting and pasting activity. So if you would like these worksheets, there will be a link to the Google Drive down below. You're welcome to take it. Please don't distribute it in ways that are terrible. Um, I don't know how else to say that, but feel free to use this and copy it, and um, you know, whatever you want to do is fine. So yep. And I will see you for the second video that I'm going to do that has the other 3 subjects that we did. So I will see you in the next video.